Welcome back, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks since my last upload. I do apologise. I'd intended on doing one, maybe two a week. The last couple of weeks have been busy. There have been some personal things ongoing. As well, I have actually opened up a Patreon. I'll be popping in the link down below. Just to let you know what to expect with Patreon, as it's quite new. It's going to be 2 STLs a month for £3, $3 a month. And as the Patreon grows, we'll be adding more tiers, more benefits. I'm toying with the idea of like an advent calendar where you'd get a new clay cutter every day for the month of December as well. That's not 100%, but if you sign up, if that's something that you do want, by all means, let me know. I'll be finalising decisions come mid to end November. But today, going back to clay cutter tutorials in Fusion 360. As you might have noticed from all my tutorials, I actually have not done the spline tool yet. And you will notice that this is a tool that is quite favoured with a lot of beginner tutorials, especially for organic shapes. I think it's, for me, I personally have the view of it's a little bit more complex, which is why I've only broached it now. It is, we're still in the beginner series, but it's not one I wanted to touch on for the first few first few tutorials. Now, I'm going to show you why. So with this, I've created a polygon. It's a hexagon there. And then I've used a spline tool to give this organic line and this kind of melted shape. Now, I make clay cutters in multiple different sizes. So therefore, I will tend to work on one design and I will scale it. Now, what will happen when you use a spline tool without doing an extra step, the scaling can go off. On certain simple designs, if it's just like a one-line design, it might work fine. On more complex, I will show what will happen now. So we've got this one here, and we're going to go and scale it. This isn't the design that we'll be doing today, but I knew this one wouldn't work on a scale of a spline. So we're covering it all. As I've said before, I've got a keyboard shortcut of, it's a standard keyboard shortcut of W for scale. So cover it all and W. Now I want you to pay attention to these curves here. I will be zooming in, don't worry. So let's say I wanted to make that 0.2 of its size. What you will notice is that these lines are no longer smooth, but they're quite sharp. And that is a trouble with splines. When you do a scale of it, it wouldn't necessarily keep the curve of it. So what we will be doing, and we will be doing a tutorial from scratch, but this is just for example. So don't feel the need to sketch anything up. This is just showing you for the moment. So what we'll be doing is be using the project tool. So that sketch is now finished, creating a new sketch. And I'm going to cover it all, select the P tool, and select these lines that I want to project. Okay. Now I'm going to go to sketch. I'm going to hide the first sketch. Now we're just left with projected lines. So I'm going to cover it all, right click, and I'm going to break the link. That will turn them into sketch lines. Okay, and you can see there's many points on it, but it no longer has the handles. So whereas before on the first sketch, we select here, we've got all these handles we can adjust. Let me just go and finish the second sketch. We could adjust all of it on the first one, move it all about. We now can't do that. It is set points, but that does mean it will now scale correctly. So I think it's 0.2 that I did it at, isn't it? So let's go back, edit this sketch. So W, 0.2. So as you can see, it has kept the sketch, has kept the curves. It's not doing sharp points like it was before. There's other ways of doing it, like we could export as a DXF and use Adobe Illustrator to clean it up. That does run the risk of potentially changing it. Let me just show you now. Save as DXF, pictures, tutorial. And DXF, they don't tend to like crossover lines. They like, you know, multiple lines coming from one. But let me just show you. So pictures, called tutorial. Here we are. So we're going to place this, and all these blue are points. So Fusion doesn't exactly make the nicest DXF files, because on a clean shape, it should be like a point at every place. So this has only got one at corners, which is great. But if you look at it here, you will see the amount of points. There's certain things that you can do, like object, path, simplify, and that will clean up. But as you can see, it has slightly changed the shape there. So I will tend to stick with the project for the most part, or sometimes I will draw from Adobe from Sketch. But that's a brief explanation, so don't worry if it's bamboozled you a little, because we'll be taking it from the beginning now, okay? So what we're going to do, we are going to do a melty triangle. So it's up to you whether you do this 10 centimeter line or scale it after. I think I'm going to scale it after in this particular case. So I'm just going to start by making a triangle. So you do your triangle however you wish. I'm keeping it shorter than 10 centimeters simply because I know I will want melty aspects. Okay, so I've got my shape, and I'm going to go and get the spline, fit point spline. So I'm not too concerned about how this will look. Oh, that is one mistake I tend to do a lot. I'll tend to exit out of it like I do with any other line, but you've got to hit enter on it. Okay, so hit enter. So I'm going to move some of these about till I'm happy with it. Okay. Let me just get rid of that. Get rid of that. I am just going to give that a bit of a round as well. Let me just get this to a point where it looks nice. And this is probably going to be a smaller one. So by all means, pause the video, stop, do your shape how you'd like it. Especially if you are new to Fusion, you are likely to be a little slower. That is absolutely fine. And you might want a bit more finagling of the points. I am just going to go over the spline tool alone for now, just to show you a bit of information. So the spline tool will generally tend to make curves that flow. And just joining up here. They are adjustable. So these green things will increase or decrease the curve. So you can give it quite sharp corners. You can make it quite wide. You can also click on a point, and you can also move them as well to reshape it. So, have a play about with it. And if you change the angle as well, you can do that, and you can get whatever shape. It's one that people tend to use if they are tracing over designs. We will be in future lessons covering importing canvases and DXFs. What I will be doing is supplying you with a few of my own drawings. But you can do your own drawings as well. But we're not going to take anything off the internet, just simply because there's a lot of it can be unclear whether, even if a shape says it is, free, royalty free, Creative Commons, sometimes it can be lifted from an original artist. So I would always recommend sketch out, even if you're not the best sketcher. that is absolutely fine. You can always tidy it up, and with practice and stuff as well, it will always um, get better. So anyway, get the shape that you want. So I'm pretty happy with this triangle one, so I will be sticking with that. And then when you're ready with the shape, you know, press play again. But until now, pause me. So hopefully by now you've got your shape ready. So we are just going to finish this sketch. I am just going to get rid of this extra line here. So we're just going to be sticking with this. So we're going to select new sketch because we're effectively using the project tool to trace this. So P for project. So I'm selecting what I want to project here. And there we go. I'm going to go to sketches. I'm turning my first sketch off and I'm left with the purple projection. So I'm just going to highlight it all, right click, break link, so they're no longer projection lines. And we're now going to measure it. So the top is down here. It's a little bit beyond. There. So let's have a quick look. 97,375. That's probably the widest point. I am just going to check this part. That's absolutely fine. So we're going to scale it so it is 10 centimeters. So highlight it all, W for scale. I want it 100 millimeters, and then I'm going to divide it by its original dimensions. So it should now be 100 there. There we go, 100.123. That's absolutely fine. Right. So what we're going to do when you are using different lines as well, I sometimes just do a quick check to see if they will all offset nicely because it's making me select them all. It's not going to, so I'm going to set offset, but I'm going to set it to 0. So it's one line covering it all. I am just going to delete this offset, not delete the offset, delete the offset constraint. So therefore, if we were to try to offset the offset, it comes up with this error. By deleting as a constraint, so no longer has that relationship, it will now allow us to offset that. So there we go. We have got that. So that is Spline as a very basic introduction to it. It's really handy for more complicated designs, more organic designs, especially with the what's it called? There's a particular artist that people love to make clay earrings from. Let me look it up now. It's all organic shape, so let me have a look. So organic shape artist. What is known for shapes? I want to say it begins with Matisse. Matisse. Yeah, Matisse. He is very popular in terms of clay earrings, the shapes as well, and quite a nice one to pair with each other. They tend to work well, with bright colours, like boho patterns, with a nice organic design, and also like very kind of nude minimalists. So what I'm doing here, I'm just setting myself up. So I've got the size I wanted. So when I make my STLs, the packs I offer, which if you join my Patreon, you will be able to have access to a couple of packs. I do have a 7-day free trial, just to let you know. So if you want to know, it is down below. But I tend to offer, for the most part, and it does vary depending on the design, in 8 designs. This one I may offer a few more because I think I can squeeze in a few smaller ones. So it is 6 centimeter, a 5.5 centimeter, 5 centimeter, 4.5. This will be, let me just copy these two over because I feel like with this shape I can actually get it down to a 1.5 centimeter. We will see. And sometimes you've got to make the design, test the print and see if it works. But this is going to be a 0.4. Just to let you know as well, if you don't know what I'm doing, please go back to my earlier lessons. We covered scaling lesson 2. We covered the basic offsets and everything for that, and the ways that you can make your cutters depending what cutter types you want in lesson 1. I can't remember. Chamfers was lesson 2 as well, was it? Or fillets lesson 2. Um, Let me have a quick look to see what lesson 3 was, because I already can't remember. It's been that long ago now. I am so sorry, guys. Let me have a look. So, lesson 3 was donuts cutouts. Lesson 4 and lesson 5 were imprints. Lesson 4 was the introduction to it. Lesson 5 was using a circle tool, which I absolutely love, by the way. It's really good for flowers. But just quick recap: 4 centimeters, 3.5, 3. This is 0.25. So because I've scaled all my sketch to 10, that's why I know my sizes. So I know I want this to be 2 centimeters. So I just need to make it 0.2 of the original size, because my original size is 10 centimeters. So 0.5. Let's squidge these a bit closer together, just so I don't have to go and resize them all. Not resize them all, be scrolling and sliding all over the place just to reach the next one. And I don't know if you guys will want to see, but like when I list my designs on Cults, which would be a link down below, you'll notice I tend to take screenshots of the different sizes on a different program. I also tend to do like little animations as well. You can see one rotating and see it in its full. But if you guys want to see that at any point, let me know. The animations tend to be on my Instagram and also my Etsy account. But I'll put all the links below. So I'll put my Patreon below. Cults is what you guys are looking at. If you want to see it, maybe create any designs, I'll also put my Instagram as well. So you can have a look at them all and let me know if there's anything that you would like to see. So I've got all my sizes, I've scripted them all together. So I'm going to set my offsets. So I need to make sure my offset is one that covers all the lines. So you can see I was moving my mouse a little because it's selecting some of the lines below. So I do an offset of 1 and 3 because that will work well with both the cutter types I offer. So let me zoom in a little bit. This one's been a little bit finicky, trying to get the full shape. 3. So 1, 3. Let me get this one down here. Let me do 3 first. So if the line goes inside, I add a minus sign. Just so that way it flips on the other way. You'll notice sometimes you'll be on one side, like I haven't had to put a minus there. But if I'm doing the other side, it's tend to favouring it to go on the inside. You will notice, depending on the design, whether or not does that not to you. But just keep an eye on it. And just a few more left to do. That's fine. So that was coming up with a bit of an error just because it's trying to offset in the middle, and because of the shape it wasn't particularly liking it. But that's fine. If you did it to a outside, it seemed to be fine. So nearly on the last one. There we are. Okay, so I'm just gonna do an extrusion to show what the earring shape will look like. Just that way, like when I put it on my listing so people can have a look. So I'm just going to put that in first. Save as mesh. So save in whatever file that you wish. So we're going to call this, well, I'm going to call mine multi-triangle. It's up to you, whatever you want to call yours. Right, and I'm just going to delete that. So I am just going to mass do them all. So I'm going to go to the surface, going to go to this one, and I'm just going to click inside the shapes, just simply because I know there's a little bit fiddly with some of these, and there's no imprints or anything like that. Control and T, select that one. I'm holding my shift key down. Oh, not a shift key. Let me just do that again. My brain's gone, it's quite late here. So shift and T, and there we go. So I'm just holding my control and whizzing down. So I want to make it 0.7 and go in. And select all these. Sometimes you need to zoom in on the little gaps, so it tries to select the body instead, but I don't want to extrude the body, I want to extrude this little gap thing. So that little gap here is the difference between 0.7 and 1. So 3 and join. So what I would do at this point, but don't worry, I won't take you guys to it. Like I'd right click the shapes, save as mesh, and for example, this would be a 0.7. So I set mine out in a certain way. So I know that is 4 centimeters, 3.5. So I will underscore that 30 millimeter multi triangle. So I will go through and I'll save them all after. But it's up to you. You can either undo, or in this case, because I need to save them after, I'm just going to hide them for now, simply because I do actually still need these bodies. And then just click all the bodies again. And as you can see, as you've done it a few times, you know your dimensions, you know your layout. Like, because I always do certain sizes, I know what layout I tend to do. So I can do my sizes from memory, just basically where they're placed is all. So let me just do these as, these are going to be my sharp edge, 0.44, and then slightly different. So I'm only doing this little gap here because I accidentally clicked on the body. You can see it's going to try to extrude it by 12 because it thought I was saying, do it to the same height as the body I clicked, but that's fine. I haven't hit enter, so I can be amending that. And change that to join, and just these to go, and join. So because these are invisible, they will not save unless visible. So for example, I know this one is 4 centimeters, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2. So I know that's 2. So like I can save that however I would, which would be, so I would start off with sharp edge, change that to 2, and I'd save that. Oh, that keeps on flicking off all the time at the moment. So then once I've saved that, I would turn it off, and I can go back to these bodies then. But otherwise, you can see Today's is quite a quick tutorial compared to some of the last. We were just doing the introduction to the spline tool. Um, like I said, have a play about with it. It will differ, depending on your design, play about, see what kind of shapes you like, and take it from there. But otherwise, we will export a little bit more in the future as well and do a bit more complicated designs with it. But for me, if you are resizing your designs, I do say project, because you may not notice the minute differences. Um, unless you were to compare like the largest with the smallest, but sometimes it is very small, the difference. If you are just doing like the one size clay cutter, you don't need to do the project tool, just work with it as long as you've sketched it to the size that you want. But otherwise, I would say, you know, look a little bit to the future. If that is going to be a good future clay cutter seller for you that you design with a spline tool, you may want to make sure you projected that sketch so it's nice and easy for you to resize, within Fusion, without making any amendments or differs or external tools. But otherwise, that is that. So thank you so much for today, guys. Just a quick recap. I'll put my links down below. Pop me a message, not pop me a message, pop me a comment if there's any designs that you'd like to do. I have seen a couple of comments over the last couple of weeks. I do apologise. I will be looking to reply to you in the next couple of days. It has just been such a busy couple of weeks. I have just fallen behind on the YouTube aspect. I know somebody said about um, bead rollers. They will be soon. We've still got a lot to explore on clay cutters before I'm moving on to something else. I do also make trinket dishes, especially with the potential to add resin to, because resin is where I started making jewelry. So if you have an interest in that, let me know. Also as well, I know I've had a couple of requests for texture rollers. I will be doing them, but just a heads up, they print better on resin printers than filament printers. So if you are a filament printer user, which most clay cutter users are, it is so good, and cheaper and cleaner to print. Although there is pros with resin printers, you can go sharper and stuff like that, and they do smoother prints. But in terms of what they're used for, filament printers are absolutely great for cutters. Texture rollers, you've got a lot of limitations on what you can do. You must do them in such smaller lines, probably a smaller nozzle as well, to get anything good, and it's not going to be as good as resin printers, but I will be covering them for you. There is about a handful of different ways to do them well on Fusion, but that is going to be a lot further down the line, because that is what I would class as more an advanced clay cutter tool, and we are still learning the beginnings at the moment. So probably, depending if I get back on schedule, probably about Christmas or what, I guess. But I have waffled on a bit, so thank you so much. Sorry about that, and I will speak to you soon. But leave a comment, subscribe, like whatever you like to do. It'd be really, really appreciated. Have a good night, and thank you so much. Take care.